today we're going to be talking about the noble gases. So the nobles, they were lords and ladies, and they didn't mingle with the commoners. So you'd always find the lords and ladies off to themselves. Noble gases are going to act just like nobles. You're not going to see them mingling with the common elements. They're going to be off by themselves. Let's look at some of them. The first one is going to be helium. So when we look at our periodic table of elements, we find helium has an atomic number of 2. Here's our atomic number, and this is saying we have 2 protons. So what happens is we're going to have 2 electrons. And so this first shell right here can only hold 2 electrons. Well, how many electrons do I have? 2. So it's going to work out just perfect. And so this shell is going to be totally full with 2 electrons right there. If I look on the periodic table of elements, the next noble gas that we see is neon. You see the abbreviation Ne, and then you see 10. That 10 is the atomic number. And so neon is going to have 10 protons. So the shell, we fill the first shell first, right? And so this first shell could hold 2 electrons. We got 2 electrons crammed into this thing. But guess what? We still got electrons left over. So we're going to put this in our next shell. Our next shell can hold 8 electrons. This shell is totally full, and we're not going to have to share or deal with anybody in order to make this happen. So the last noble gas that we're going to be dealing with is going to be argon. If you look at the periodic table of elements, you see it says argon 18. So we're going to do exactly what we did before. We can put 2 electrons in that first shell, totally full. But guess what? We got 16 electrons left over. So we go to our next shell, and that can only hold 8 electrons. And so we're going to cram this full of 8 electrons, and now this shell is full. But guess what? We got 8 electrons, we got 10 accounted for, but guess what? We have a total of 18, so that means we have 8 left over. So we're going to have to go into our last shell right here, and we're going to fill this up with 8 more electrons. And so now this shell is completely full. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so all 3 of these shells are full. There are other shells, but for the sake of nursing and medical assisting and just biology in general, we really don't care beyond this point. These noble gases are going to become very important because this lays the foundation for what we're going to be trying to do with all other types of bonding. All of our bonds are trying to, in a sense, become a noble gas. So with our ionic bonding, we're having to steal and give away electrons to get to this. Our covalent bonding, we're having to share to get to this. And so if you can understand what the noble gases look like, you can get an idea of what the other elements are trying to do. All right, that concludes today's episode. If you liked what you heard, be sure to click the subscribe and like button down below. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or if there's any particular topic you'd like me to create a video on, let me know in the comments down below. All right, well, I look forward to seeing you on my next podcast.